Carers UK is 50 years old in 2015, which is extraordinary. And I'd argue that the carers movement, in a way, began with Mary Webster, who collected around her a group of people equally outraged at the disadvantage they had faced. Because as women in the 60s, having given up families, because that was a choice they had to make then, if they wanted a career, they consciously opted to have careers rather than marriages and families. They then found themselves as single daughters in families entirely responsible for the care of their ageing and unwell parents. And she described caring as being in prison. She was so cut off. She'd been a Congregationalist minister. She was so cut off from the life that she'd built for herself. And this vision she had of helping people, absolutely cut off. And she was so outraged, she did what outraged professional women did. She wrote to the Times, and she had an extraordinary response. So it was rather like the 60s equivalent of trending on Twitter. She had a whole front garden filled with mailbags from people who felt the same. For her, it was a women's issue. She was a political creature, and she gathered around her people she felt could have influence, and she caught the ear of Baroness Sear in the House of Lords, and actually the Association for the Single Woman and Her Elderly Dependents, which is what Carers UK originally launched with an event in the House of Lords. Now, we're still doing that stuff now, and I consider her to have been a political creature with an extraordinary passion, but most of all, an overriding sense of justice. And she considered what she had experienced was an injustice. She was doing something which was natural and good, and as a result of it, she was completely cut off from the world that she knew, and she also had no rights. She'd given up her home, moved in with her parents. She had no property rights. She had nothing. So that when her caring ended, if you like, she was a woman who was completely disenfranchised, dispossessed. That's really powerful stuff, and that's how this launched in the UK, if you like, and she drove that, of course, over time. This expanded to include married women, number one, but also whole families. It became a whole family issue. Jill Pitt-Keithley, who of course was such an extraordinary advocate, has been such an extraordinary advocate, and is seen as a founder of the movement, if you like, someone who's carried that movement forward, talked about this as being a private issue brought into the public domain, so that we began to understand on a public stage, on a public policy stage, something which was simply seen as stuff that families got on with.